I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we stand today and pay my respects to elders both past and present. Today's walk represents the Cabramatta Police and community standing up to stop men's violence towards women and letting our community know where we all stand. White Ribbon is Australia's only national male-led campaign to end men's violence against women. Globally, White Ribbon is the world's largest male-led movement to end men's violence against women. It originated in Canada in 1991, and White Ribbon is now active in more than 60 countries around the world. From a local perspective, domestic violence accounts for 50% of the work that your police here do at Cabramatta. Just think about that, 50% of the work done by the police here at Cabramatta relates to domestic violence. We have a huge problem. And for me, the frightening thing is that it's probably the most underreported crime that we have in our society. Domestic and family violence is about offenders using power and control, and that is why the White Ribbon campaign is so important, as it raises awareness and educates the community about the impact of domestic and family violence. Today you'll hear from the police commander, the mayor, our White Ribbon Day ambassador. You'll hear from Anna, Alice and Aminda Hun, who lost their mother to domestic violence in 2012. You'll also hear some very special poems written by students from Canleyvale Public School and songs performed by a choir of students from Canleyvale Public, Cabramatta High School, Cabramatta Public School, Cabramatta West Public, Harrington Street Public School and Cabramatta Public School. Before I go on, there is one person that is unable to make it today and sends his apologies. That's the Honourable Chris Hayes MP, Federal Member for Fowler. And Mr Hayes wished me to pass on the following message to you all. Sorry, I'm unable to join you at this very important White Ribbon Day walk to say no to domestic violence. I'm in the Australian Parliament in Canberra. However, I do want to say a few words. 1 in 3 women currently experience violence in their life. 1 in 5 women currently experience sexual violence, and each week at least 1 woman dies from violence in their own home. It is very important that as a community we take responsibility and look out for our family, friends and neighbours. If you suspect someone is the victim of violence, do not walk away, but speak up. Say no. We must stop the cycle of violence by reporting it. To all men, I say never commit, never excuse, and never be silent when it comes to violence against women. We will repeat that oath later today, and to finish that will be done by all the men that are here today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just a fantastic attendance here today. I know it's hot. Please bear with us. We'll get through the speakers, but really it is a symbolic event today, just to make sure that we're all together as one. It's, domestic violence is not for Cabramatta. Men are normally the perpetrators. We've got to stamp that out. To all our distinguished guests, thank you for coming along. As I said to the school kids, thank you very much for attending. A short time ago I was very proud and I was humbled to be able to lead our inaugural walk here at Cabramatta with a few of our distinguished guests. And this event is just one that is happening throughout New South Wales and Australia today. A little later during the formalities, Detective Chief Inspector Darren Newman will ask all men here to join with us to take the White Ribbon Day oath. This pledge is to be taken by all men to denounce violence against women and to affirm our intent to promote gender equality, healthy relationships and our opposition as men to violence against women. And I hope all men here will obviously stand with me in regards to that. The New South Wales Police Force regards all personal violence as very, very serious, as it impacts heavily on individuals, their families and also the community as a whole. In Australia, as it's already been said, nearly one woman every week is killed by either their current or an ex-partner. And later you'll have the opportunity of hearing from members of one local family whose mother was unfortunately and tragically murdered during one of these domestic confrontations. It'll bring some realism to these speeches today, I'm sure. Responding to domestic and family violence is a significant component of a police officer's daily duties here at Cabramatta, and we're often faced with very hostile and unpredictable circumstances. As the Commander, I want my police to give their strongest consideration to taking action, positive action against offenders for domestic violence. And I'm very happy to say that we have one of the highest legal action rates in New South Wales. We are taking action when it's reported to us. We're denouncing all types of violence against women and family in this regard. We actually have a pro-prosecution response to the investigation and management of such incidences, and legal action will always be commenced if there's evidence that can actually help us at court. And I want you to actually think about that, so we need you to keep the evidence and produce it to the police when you need to. We also think that it's very important, we know that to support our victims of domestic violence, and we ensure that we keep them safe, victims, children and families. In general terms, police can take what's known as apprehended violence orders against offenders, and in that way we can curtail their behaviour to try and make homes more safe for children and for families. These orders can be brought into vogue for 2 years. At Cabramatta we have a wonderfully diverse community. You can see it here today. It's underpinned by cultural, ethnic, religious differences. And I expect as the Commander that my police will recognise that when we're dealing with members of the community from non-Anglo backgrounds. And I think we do it very good too. In fact, can I just say that in fact Australian women are most likely to experience physical and sexual violence in their own home and at the hands generally of a male current or ex-partner, which is quite frightening. It traumatises the woman obviously, and also the children, and they can have some long-term psychological damage created by these interactions. A Bureau of Statistics report showed that in New South Wales, 80% of domestic incidents reported to police were committed by men, and worse than that, 95% of those are male against female in partnerships. It's noted that there's an overwhelming majority of apprehended violence applications are made by police on behalf of females against their male partners or ex-partners. This does not preclude domestic and family violence occurring in same-sex or other domestic relationships. In Cabramatta over the last 3 years, my police have attended 750 individual incidents of domestic assault. I can assure you here today that there is equally amount of similar type incidents occurring in terms of malicious damage, intimidation, and also verbal arguments occurring in homes. We need to address these issues now. Although this provides clear evidence that domestic violence is a major issue for us at Cabramatta, the number and frequency is mirrored through a number of commands in New South Wales, and particularly in the metro area. Domestic and family violence basically involves an abuse of power. It amounts to a behaviour that can include escalating violence, escalating abuse, intimidation, physical abuse, verbal abuse, psychological abuse, threats to harm others, threats to harm and kill pets, threats to damage property and in fact damaging property, financial deprivation and social isolation. These are some of the traits of a domestic violence offender upon a victim. Can I reinforce in the strongest terms that we will take action when we can. And domestic and family violence is a very complex area of the law, but we work through it each and every day. My police here will actually focus on 4 main issues. We'll make applications for apprehended violence orders if you come forward to protect you as a victim. We'll also refer you to support officers and support agencies that work with domestic violence. I will use my domestic violence liaison officers, our specialist police in this regard, to work with you if you are a repeat victim or in fact a repeat offender. We work with those too. And I can assure you that at every opportunity I'll be taking action against those that commit criminal offences. We do have a lot of under-reporting. We need to break the circle of violence by actually getting that information to police. If you're a neighbour or a family friend or someone that hears that someone is a victim of domestic violence, please let us know. There is underwhelming anecdotal evidence of the unreporting, and I think it happens a lot more here with our predominantly Southeast Asian community here at Cabramatta. We need to break that. We need to talk to people and get them to bring that information to us here at Cabramatta. For the police, from a police perspective and from a perspective of me personally, the White Ribbon Day walk today, the first one that we've had, is a very, very symbolic gesture and event. It symbolises that as police we're going to continue our zero tolerance approach to all forms of domestic violence, predominantly created by men against women, and this behaviour will be considered by all my police here as totally unacceptable and will continue to take affirmative action. Before I conclude, can I just thank all the organising and the organising committee. These things don't just happen. They take a lot of effort from all the stakeholders. I thank you very much. To Quinn Trong, our multicultural liaison officers, particularly Quinn, to you, thank you for driving this event, getting it up and getting it up into the local community diary. And you can see today we've got a lot of distinguished guests and it's not easy to get everybody together. Brett Grenfell, Senior Sergeant, thanks again, Brett, for going above and beyond and bringing all this together. And lastly, to Detective Chief Inspector Darren Newman, who has a particular passion for domestic violence, the stamping out of it at Cabramatta. Thank you, Darren, for bringing the idea forward. He brought it to me, and obviously I've just gone on Darren's coattails for the last few months as he's been riding it into home plate. So could everybody just please thank this man for getting it organised today. So thank you, Darren. Thank you once again for everybody's participation. It's most appreciated. Thank you.